Hi everybody, welcome back to Checking In at the Pad, and I'm here with John Davis today, and he is really part of our family here at the Pad. He gets his hair done here every couple of weeks, and his office is right around the corner, and I'm really excited to talk about what he does because he really does change people's life, I think, on a daily basis, which is, when you can give back like that, I think that's really what life's about. So how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me over. Again. First for the haircut, but this is great. Thanks.
Yeah, John Davis works with a lot of addiction, and we are here in Delray Beach, which addiction is very prevalent here. So I want him to talk about, how addiction really affects us on a daily basis. How do we even know if we have addiction?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's a big question. People come in my office all the time. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in private practice. You're here. And of course there's a lot of partying going on in our town. We're a fun city, USA. And some professionals come to me, people who have problems, and they want to know, when does addiction really begin? How do I know if I'm an addict or not? So there are some real hallmarks. I think if we look at someone's life from a holistic perspective, you might want to ask how they're doing in terms of their family, how their finances, what kind of car they're driving. Are they really where they want to be in terms of their lives? Because I think addiction can be corrosive. Let's face it, we've had fun with mind-altering substances like wine and pot and whatever for a long time, but it can get out of hand, and for some people it does.
Did it ever get out of hand for you?
Absolutely. I think that's why I'm in this business. I think the University of Georgia was a wonderful place to drink beer and smoke pot, and I just got carried away and brought it with me to Florida. And I really had some problems. I'm laughing about it now, but I had some problems, and I learned some ways to begin to monitor my own activity and to be able to put that behind me. And I really feel like I have, and I really enjoy helping other people do that.
Is there a recreational aspect to, using my altering substance? Because, I know in my past I have, and I may in the future, but how do I know if I'm addicted to it, or if it's going to be bad for me? I mean, obviously I'm not suggesting anybody to do illegal drugs, but this is what it is, and I've taken part in that. When is it a problem? When is it not a problem? Or how do we even navigate that through our lives?
Great set of questions. Yes, it begins recreationally, I think, for everybody. It surely did for me, and most people I talk to say, wow, I partied in college and never stopped. So, but I think the value in drugs of any kind is to break our state. It's simply to change our state of awareness so that we have a release, or we can relax, or we can laugh and have fun. And so, absolutely, one of my favorite authors, Huxley, says that drug use is the door of perception, so that we can see more and experience more. And yet, there are so many natural ways to accomplish some of the same things that require discipline and practice over time. Meditation and yoga, for example, can produce some of the same state changes and experiences of euphoria that are known to have been produced by cannabis and some of the other drugs, and those are natural processes. And they don't hurt you, and they don't leave you beside the road and your marriage wrecked.
Did you do yoga? Has that helped you deal with all your...
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for asking. I took up yoga as a swimmer at the University of Georgia. I wanted to be a better athlete, and over a long period of time it just became my mainstay. Stretching and breathing and meditating and just trying my best to be present helped me through a lot of storms, including some of my addictions.
I find that definitely when I go to the gym or I do anything active, or even just try to sit and be with myself and connect with who I am, it definitely puts things in perspective for me, for sure.
Mindfulness, if you want to call it meditation, some teachers just call it sitting. If you can sit quietly and practice that discipline over time, it has many, many health benefits, way beyond curing anything like addiction.
You keep saying this word, curing addiction, and I have very I have very different opinions, I think, than the masses, because,
It's a radical idea.
yeah, I don't know if it's that radical, but I think, is addiction a lifelong thing, or is this a disease that we live our whole life with? Is it acute? Is it chronic? Because from my experience, and I talk to so many different people every day that battle with addiction or battle with substances, or they drink every day, but they don't think they're like, where does that happen, and how can it be cured?
Can it be cured?
I mean, I feel
That's
like
a great question. I want to say yes, but I should probably hedge my bet a little bit by saying it depends. Depends on the person. Depends on who you are and what efforts you might make toward that. But absolutely, there are methods, there are thought-changing procedures. I'm a fan of Chris Prentice, who wrote a book called The Alcoholism and Addiction Cure, famous out of Malibu. And Chris says there are 3 ways to do it. Get your body straight and healthy. Figure out why you got addicted in the first place. Could have come from trauma or family background or something like that, usually does. And then the third thing to do is to see the world as it really is. See relationships as they really are. And if someone will work diligently over that process, sometimes over a number of years, I have found, and I've experienced in my clients, sometimes the energy of addiction just falls away.
Yeah, I mean, from my personal experience, I mean, I am a therapist-aholic. I don't know if you call that, but I've seen many therapists.
You're a big consumer.
I'm a consumer. I'm a consumer of therapists. I love therapy. For me, it's always been life-changing, and I love to do that. But I've always felt, even with talking to all the clients that I have and the people that are addicted, I feel like the use of the drugs are just a symptom. Like, it's just a symptom of, I've experienced so many people that have anxiety, social anxiety.
Sure.
And, they can't walk into a room. Actually, my ex-husband could never walk into a room and
Without
be
some help.
comfortable without help, whatever that help was.
Sure.
Or dealing with trauma. So I feel like my philosophy is everybody's an addict. We just manifest it in a healthy way, we manifest these behaviors in different ways.
One of my favorite words to cover this has to do with hunger and appetite. I think all of us are hungry. We want to eat, and we want to breathe, and we want to drink, and we want to have life. I think it's when our appetites get disordered in some way by all kinds of experiences, by anxiety, by trauma, by ADD, that our appetites can become disordered and we can be too hungry for something. For example, we can be too hungry for companionship. Sex addiction's real. We can be hungry for collecting things, and hoarding really becomes a reality. So all of those addictions come up under an umbrella called appetite or hunger, and I think that the real road to recovery and a good life has a lot to do with discipline, and to be able to discipline, to know our hungers, to know our lifestyle, to know what's going to lead us down a path of overuse, and to be able to monitor that. I think one can build strength that way. I think it takes practice, a lifetime of practice.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely struggled with my things that come in and out of my life that I wasn't sure if I was addicted to, or if they were affecting my life in a negative way. I'm fortunate enough to have, people in my life, and I can look in the mirror and kind of see myself sometimes,
Sure.
which is very fortunate because a lot of people can't.
Sure.
How can we today maybe give people a little clue on, understanding themselves a little more with addiction? Or like, I can't pay my bills, so obviously I can't pay my bills because I'm spending my money on crack. You obviously have a problem. But I feel like in this working world, especially in Delray, with so many professionals, there's so many gray areas. Like,
addiction tends to make us see the world as it's not. For example, we might look at a relationship and we think it's fine, but it's not fine. It's full of holes, and it's full of political this and that. And so marriages sometimes don't work because of addiction. But I'll give you a simple example from my own life. 10 days ago, I gave up caffeine. I've been an inveterate Starbucks junkie for 20 years. So I hope I don't look like I have a headache right now, but it's been extraordinarily hard to do. I was probably consuming 400 milligrams of caffeine each day. So honestly, the first few days were a mess. Why did I do it? Because it was affecting my life. And I'd been telling myself it wasn't. I wasn't sleeping at night. And I thought, well, that's just getting a little older. BS. No, I was carrying a caffeine load that now has proven out that as I discipline myself and hold off, my sleep's improving. My mood hasn't been all that great today, but I get better. And so it's just a form of hunger. I think caffeine fits fine. If you can handle it, great.
Right, this is a legal substance that
Absolutely.
Starbucks makes billions and billions of dollars because people are addicted to
It's
it.
wonderful, it's fun. If it's overdone, we can get in trouble with some of the smallest things. And so that's just a personal example that I've been noticing my very self. I don't think I'm going back to coffee.
Yeah. We'll check back in.
Yeah,
We'll
in a few
see.
weeks.
So, I mean, I think that's a really great point, like, because I feel like a lot of people are told, when they do have that self-discovery and are able to look at themselves and say, okay, I'm an addict. What do I do to get out of it? But, telling somebody that they're going to deal with this the rest of their life has to seem so overwhelming too. I mean, not that it's a very serious conversation, but,
Sure.
I think maybe knowing that you can live normally without feeling that urge every day is a very, like a light at the end of the tunnel for most people.
Something that comes up in almost every counseling session is whether or not alcoholism or substance abuse is a primary or a secondary. Often we find that somebody's drinking, not because they have a drinking problem, but because they have a relationship problem that's so severe that they're drinking to soften the effects of that relationship, that they're drinking out of a sense of solving the pain. And so if you go into the middle of that and do a little marriage counseling, for example, and solve some of the relationship issues, all of a sudden drinking takes a back seat and someone begins to realize, wow, I really didn't like it all that much anyway. I don't like the hangovers, I don't like the habit, it's very expensive, gets in the way. And so it's possible that addiction is a secondary kind of disorder. It usually is. Usually alcohol and cannabis and methamphetamines are a sign that somewhere else in our lives something is off.
It's like a balance.
Excellent word.
And that's
It's a good word.
And
Yeah,
I
excellent
get,
word.
and
We
that,
should seek balance.
and
I
yoga
get,
and meditation and those kind of things where you're looking
Yoga and
inward
meditation
instead of
and those kind of
outward,
things where you're
create
looking
that balance
inward
in your
instead of
life,
looking
help you
outward,
be more
create
stable.
that balance in your
Yoga
life.
and
to help you be a
meditation
little
and
more
sitting and
stable.
those practices of discipline are simply a way to quiet the mind, to allow us to sort of tone down that constant chatter. All of us have a kind of a monkey chattering in our brain all the time.
People use alcohol for that and stuff, like that's part what they're using it for, right? So you're kind of replacing that with something so healthy.
I think it gives us a sense of control over that chatter. Cannabis, for example, has a tendency to just completely soften that chatter and turn it into something else. But if you've ever meditated, I would challenge anyone in our audience to try and sit each morning, take 5-10 minutes, sit quietly. Just sit quietly.
I've tried.
Quiet your mind.
I've tried so hard to meditate, so hard. I've done it, I've dabbled with meditation. It's just really hard for me to quiet my mind without smoking cannabis.
Sure, I understand.
But I do notice that every time I have, I get a little bit farther. So it's probably, looking back at myself, it's probably kind of more of an exercise, and every time it would get stronger and stronger if I practiced every day, meditation.
My favorite mentor used to say, don't ever call it meditation. Don't ever call it mindfulness. Don't ever call it anything spiritual. Just sit down in a quiet room with a chair and be comfortable. Stare out the window if you have to. Let nothing invade your privacy and just sit. And when your mind starts messing with you, which it always will, as soon as your mind figures out you want to sit still, it'll start talking to you. You just bring your breath back. Just bring your mind back to your breath and your thinking. And that's just a way to get centered. That practice over a long period of time can produce extraordinary strength and a sense of wisdom about where one's life is really headed. That's really the center of it.
Wow, thank you so much for being here. So John Davis can be found at
JohnDavisCounseling.com. I'm giving a talk at the library tonight. A series begins We're going to talk about mindfulness every Monday night for the next
The
month.
Delray Beach
Delray
Public
Library, yeah. And you can find me broadly on the social media nut, and so look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you, and I hope the audience got something out of it. We will see you again next week. Have a great day. Smile. It could change your day.